Hey, welcome in. I want to tell you a story about a relationship I was once in. Today I'm in Nairobi, Nairobi's Karura Forest. So I'm glad to be walking in the forest. Forgive my voice, I have a cold. I keep telling everyone this is my sexy voice, and everyone says no. I like it. I think it of my, they call it the late radio DJ voice, the one where they talk with the music playing, the Barry White, the Barry White kind of voice. So, well, perhaps I'm no Barry White. So, to tell you this story, no. Please. I don't want to get kids on camera. There are some kids who are passing behind them. Okay, so we talk about being in relationships which have gone bad. So now I want to give you my example, because some of them can go really, really bad. And I guess if we don't have these conversations as often, we don't realize what we have escaped. And I do think a lot of us will have escaped potentially dire situations. So I a boss babe, if we call it that. Very good at work, very intelligent, high flying. That's me. That really is me. So I lay that groundwork because a lot of people don't think that women like me can fall for ridiculous relationships. I don't know what else to call it. It is a ridiculous relationship. So let me tell you how I got ensnared into a ridiculous relationship. Oh, my hand is getting tired. Let me just switch them. Let me switch them over. There we go. So there was a guy. In fact, there were two guys. I was just coming off from a relationship. We had broken up, and I was a little sad. So I decided to go on a trip. So I went on a trip to Paris, and while there, I met a guy. How more romantic can it be? Yeah? And I think that's part of the problem. Part of the problem is these romanticized notions that we have in our minds that come whether from TV or anywhere else. So he was like a knight in shining armor. I was a little stranded. Long story about being stranded. My card had an issue, so a few things like that, and came riding on to the rescue and started a conversation. No big deal, just an interesting guy. And in that trip, I was going to a few towns. So then decided to join me. And I thought, okay, fine, why not? I mean, I'm here on my own, I'm single. I really didn't care. Because in terms of, I'm just going to do a bit of sightseeing. And he had a really lovely car. So he said, why not? So we went. And after that, within a week or two, we then took another trip to Spain. Yeah? And then within, I don't know how long, then he started buying me tickets, and we were traveling. And I just thought that this was so lovely. But the signs were there from the very beginning. There was a lot of love bombing. There was a lot of, how wonderful and magnificent and great I am. And there's a lady I heard once on YouTube saying that you need to wake up and look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what greatness is this that has happened between yesterday and today that is making you so magnificent? Such that when you do have all these people telling you just that, how wonderful and how in love they are with you, don't think that this is special. Don't think that this is it. Think more along the lines of, here there's something, there's a catch. So my usual mind, in fact, even I did catch it. I mean, I did notice this, and I did tell myself that no, this guy is just full of it. But because of all these grandiose gestures and whirlwind moving around and the setting of Paris or whatever it is, I then found myself getting interested in him very, very fast. And that becomes the problem. It becomes a problem when your logical brain stops thinking. Because when you start getting feelings yourself, then there's something that, I guess it's some chemical reaction that happens. I heard it said somewhere that it's because even though your body is sending you signs, which it was, I almost fell. I almost fell. Because your logical body is sending you, no, not your, yeah, your system, your intuition. In fact, for me, my intuition was blaring. There were many tiny little signs that things were really wrong. But because somewhere within my system, I had decided that this is someone that I want to explore. This is a relationship that I really want to get into. Then it's like there were crossing of wires. When I talk of different parts within you, there's a part of me that really wanted this to happen. So it like went and shut down everything else, all the intuition, and then we became all system go. And when that happens, it becomes really difficult to see the warning signs. You just find yourself going with the flow, which is what happened for me. And I mean, I'll spare you the details. Sorry. Ooh, my cough. Part of the reason of walking in the forest, to be grounded and to get back my healing. So I'll spare you all the crazy details about this relationship, but let it be said that at some point, I, this highly independent person, was not. In fact, the one that for me just was really crazy. I like wearing shorts. And then he had told me not to. Really, that's exactly that. And I found myself not wearing shorts because it is, I think he said it is too revealing. And it starts out, whenever they say things like that, it starts out like a kind thing. It is in protection. They're trying to protect you because if you're revealing too much of yourself, then you're likely to become a target or something along those lines. But the reality is that this is him trying to impose some form of control. And then what they do is they check, do I listen to that? And if I do listen to that, then they do the next thing. I remember him saying that I'm too loud. I laugh too loudly. So whenever I'd be laughing, he'd then tell me that, no, I need to reduce. I need to reduce the volume because I'm too loud. Then, of course, I don't think I'm too loud. I've never thought I'm too loud. But slowly, because it was also very difficult to have, I'd even call them arguments, even leave alone conversations. He'd really drain me down in terms of an argument. So it became just easier to do whatever it is that he wants to do for the peace. Because when there's peace, it was such a lovely relationship. Everything works so well. But when there's any kind of disconnect, then he'd wear me down. He'd wear me down. And then I came to realize later that I'm not the kind of person who liked conflict. I guess growing up, conflict was big. Conflict was big. So I hadn't come to realize that you can have a discussion that doesn't lead to, like arguments, and it can be a conversation. You can have differing opinions and have a conversation about it. So slowly but surely, you can see these are just small things that would happen. And he did also start giving little hints, like we'd go visit a gym. So he doesn't say anything, but the subtle message that I was getting from him in little different ways was that, and he did say it, that I can be a bit more active or something like that. So I got the impression that my weight, is that a comment about my weight? So it didn't last incredibly long, but it lasted much longer than it should have. It really did. And I mean, this one day, there's a part B to this story that maybe one day I'll tell you guys. But all of this to show that it's not this, when you find like a woman who's in a really strange relationship, especially, and really I'm talking to you, my corporate girls, because you might have, and I've seen it so many times, you just see someone who's doing amazingly well, but the guy she's with, it's like, why? There's so much more opportunity out there, but that is what they've decided to stay with. And then you think, okay, you shrug. But sometimes it is that it starts slowly that way, and then they get caught up. Especially, you just hear these really sad stories, of situations like that. And like, I mean, in Kenya we've been having all this femicide, instances of women being killed. And that is why I was saying, I mean, for me, I thank my stars that I have been in some strange relationships like that one. I mean, I've been in relationships I really should not have been in. But, why am I putting it to the side? I can be showing myself in the camera instead of putting it to the side. Yeah, then you can see the forest to the back. Oh, I don't want to keep almost falling. So, yeah, so that's what I was saying. When sometimes you see women in these kinds of situations, and of course there's a question of, oh, why don't they leave, or why don't they do something about it? I mean, they're so powerful. Why would they get into such a relationship? So, I mean, I'm giving you my experience to show that it's not always so straightforward, even coming out of it. Even in this one, I needed the intervention of a YouTuber. I needed the intervention of a YouTuber who told me, I am sane. I am sane. And I am worthy of respect. It had reached a position where he had been disrespectful of me, and then I was just confused. Because I knew within my system something felt completely off. There's a part of me that woke up and said it shall not be treated like this anymore. But initially I couldn't even articulate it. I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was feeling off. And then listening to YouTube, someone recommended a certain lady to me. And that is where I heard that I was being disrespected. And the notion of respect, it's like something broke inside me. It's like I had been inside this little cocoon. And when I realized that this is where we are, that I am not being respected, it's like I woke up. It's like I woke up and I said, no. And the power that he had started amassing, and he really, really had amassed quite a lot. It's scary to think about it. I mean, even for me, because as I said, when it started, I was in control. I was very much in control. I could tell him to go away if I didn't want to. He just acted like this playful little boy, really. And yeah, and yet towards as the relationship progressed, I found myself closing myself in. I remember at Easter I didn't travel because he didn't want me to travel. It's really, really, really strange. It's really, really, it's strange. And I say this also for those of you who have siblings or friends or co-workers who you see going through this. The first thing is not to blame them. Not to blame them. They're not crazy. They're not crazy. They might be a little suspended from their usual self. And it's unfortunately difficult to show them the mirror so that they can see what is happening. Even for them, I mean, even for me, it was very easy at the time to see such I'd be able to recognize other women in such a relationship while not seeing it for myself, not seeing it in the one that I am in. So be patient with them, tell them, show them, continue trying to tell them that, the life they're not living is not, in French we say c'est pas ça. That's not it. That's not the kind of life that they should be living. They deserve much better. And they'd find all manner of excuses. I mean, you'd be told that you're jealous. You're jealous, but something will hopefully give. I think something often does give. Unfortunately, for many, it requires a hitting of rock bottom, but something will sometimes give. And having the voice of a friend who has been there constantly telling them that this is not good helps. In my case, I didn't. In fact, in my case, the friends I had who knew about it, they didn't know all the nitty-gritties because some of the details I kept to myself. And that's the point. Because you do know. I knew there was something wrong with this, which is why I was keeping some of these nitty-gritty points to myself. Yeah? And yet, yeah, so that's those kind of relationships. Be a friend, because sometimes you think of it like a domestic violence situation. Unfortunately, there's been this notion that hiyo ni mambo ya nyumbani. That is a private affair for the home. No, 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 no. If it is your friend, it is you want the best for them. And if you want the best for them, tell them, and show them. That's the other thing. Sometimes, and maybe I should say this as well. It's in my case anyway, getting into such a relationship, there was something within my past that I was trying to heal. So I needed to get into that relationship. When you see a pattern, that's what happens. You have a pattern of behavior or relationships that you keep finding yourself in, and that's it. It's because there's something that you need to heal, and you keep being drawn back. It's like the universe just keeps taking you back to these kinds of relationships until you realize it, until you see it, until you heal this part of you. It could be that there's what in I want to say what in your childhood, always in your childhood, there would be either a situation that happened or a male figure who showed up or didn't show up in a particular way, and this is what you're now dealing with in these situations. So again, Date Like Cleopatra in the book, The Good Girl Flips the Script, out now, and in that we talk about the importance of like understanding yourself and growing your self-worth, your independence, I want to call it, but also just understanding your self-love, your self-worth, how important it is to be grounded in yourself, because it is this grounding in self that empowers you to understand that you don't need these other people, whatever it is. This love bombing that I was getting, I think all this attention that I got, maybe it's attention I didn't get as a child. So then reaching this realization that I don't need to get that attention from anyone else. I can give that attention to myself. And from that, then I break free from this need to cling on to someone who's doing things just for show. And then instead, I then become, I want to show like I'm walking taller. I then walk taller in my own essence, because then I am enough. I am enough. You are enough. You are enough. You don't need these unhealthy relationships around you, because they just suck out your essence. They take you further from whatever your goal is. Whether your goal is one in relationships or in business or in education, whatever it is that you want to do, when you end up in these relationships that, and even just give the example of the relationship that you know is not your final relationship, your mark timing. You're spending time there so that you're not alone because you don't want to be on your own. No, embrace being on your own. There's nothing wrong with being by yourself, and embrace dating. You might date other people and find a truer relationship, a truer version of what it is that you really want to be in. Yeah. So all this to give you permission to learn from my mistakes, learn from my experience, because that's part of life. You don't need to go through all the mistakes yourself. No, it reminds me of the story of I had 2 cats when I was living in South Africa. I've always had 2 cats, but I had 2 cats, and then there's one day one fell out the window. It's not a funny story, but yet somehow it is. It wasn't very high. It was on the 1 floor. So one fell out the window. Then I was so concerned. I went outside. I got them. And then I came back in just in time to see the other one falling out the window. So I'd always say, if the second one were if there were children, I wouldn't have paid college fees for the second one, because it had to learn by itself. It didn't learn from the other one that falling out the window was painful. Yeah. So a story for you today. I hope you take it into account and speak out to a friend. Of course, always with love, not with judgment. Always with love. And sometimes, of course, people don't want to hear our opinions, which is good, which is fine, I mean. But sometimes it can be helpful to help get someone out of a rut. Bye bye. See you next time.